guys, welcome back to Strong Successful Male. So for today, I'm going to go over an email that was sent from a subscriber. This is from a guy, it sounds like here, doing some quick math, he's about my age, and the story takes place about 25 years ago, beginning when he was 19 years old. And he's going to share his story about how ultimately he got this job. And at his job, there was this very pretty young secretary working there who he obviously liked, amongst many other guys liked. Described her as a young Halle Berry, and Halle Berry's quite pretty back in the day when she was young. And eventually he asked her out, they start dating, and next thing you know, they're engaged. And in the beginning, you're going to see she was studying to become an accountant, and she got a job at a very big accounting firm and all that. But the second they got engaged, she started talking about how she no longer wanted to work anymore and get married and be a stay-at-home mom and take care of the kids while her husband takes care of everything. So you're going to see this guy end up quitting his job, going back to school, taking up debt, so he can then get a better job essentially for her. All these sacrifices for her. But ultimately you're going to see, guys, as this guy's making all these sacrifices for her, she has other plans behind the scenes. And ultimately, this guy gets burned. However, you're going to see at the end, I'm not going to reveal too much, he most certainly has the last laugh on her. But this story, guys, you're going to see him do a lot of things that are just going to make you cringe. Okay? And he's going to have a lot of smack moments from me. But at the end of the day, he was young. And this is back in 1996 when it started. There was no YouTube. There wasn't anything like this. Everything was different. There was no Google back then. So we all make mistakes. Best thing you can do is learn from it. And I appreciate this guy setting this story to help guys out learn from his mistakes. So it starts off. He says, Hi, SSM. This story takes place about 25 years ago. At 19 years old, I had no direction and college was not for me. I decided to start a carpet cleaning company, which grew exponentially. About 4 years later, I sold the business and invested my savings into New York City commercial/residential real estate market. Dude, a born entrepreneur. That's pretty awesome. At the time, the rent from my investments was barely enough to pay my bills and leave me some loose change in my pockets. So I decided to go back to school, got an associate's in electrical engineering, and shortly after found a job at an engineering firm as a technician. Oh, you did what you had to do, and I'm going to guess, obviously, because you bought that property, and since you just bought it, it's going to take some time for you to make a return, because obviously once in time when you can start raising the rents, that's when you're going to make more profit, every month. And of course, the property values will go up in time. I mean, this is NYC property. But I'm glad you said, okay, I'm going to do something else. But also, you could have just invested in the S&P 500 to watch it grow too, but it is what it is. So he says here, at that job, that is where I met Lisa. Lisa was a secretary at the firm. She was one of those girls that was ugly as a child and grew up to be a stunning woman. Well, that can be a problem, because some gals that grew up where that, let's just say they weren't so good, they didn't look very good. Maybe she was overweight. Maybe she had just some issues. Because all that time they were rejected, they spend the rest of their lives seeking attention from dudes. And it goes to their head. Just want to point that out. He says she was always surprised by the amount of attention she would get from men. And I'm sure she loved every minute of it. Think of her as a young Halle Berry. She was going to school at nights to get her accounting degree. Most of the engineers I worked for had a crush on her. So she's in her prime. She's in her 20s. I'm going to guess early 20s. He described her as looking like a young Halle Berry. So obviously has no problem getting guys, which gives her the upper hand. And for a lot of guys, obviously, aren't as experienced or more in the blue pill department, she would pretty much have them wrapped around her little finger. And you're going to see that's exactly what we have here. I finally got the courage to ask her out, and she said yes. We dated for about a year, got engaged, and she moved in with me. Smack. You were dating for about a year and you got engaged, bro? That's way, way, way too short of a period of time. Anybody can put up an act for a year. And he said, you weren't living together before then, so obviously she had time to be away from you and miss you and everything like that. So when she got together with you, you got the better treatment. I'm sure the second you moved in together, she didn't treat you the same way she did when you guys were apart. You guys, I'm sure, have seen many of my videos where I talked about don't move in with your girlfriend. If you want things to stay great, don't move in with your girlfriend. Unless you're going to get married one day, which in 2021 I really don't recommend, but if you're going to do it anyway because of religion or your culture or just you feel like you got a unicorn, Then you can live with them as a trial run to see what it's like living with them. But I guarantee even then, it will be different. But no, if you're going to do the engagement thing, you got years. You need to see every possible scenario arise in your relationship to see how she handles it. Because otherwise, she could put on the show, you get married, and then the real her will come about. He says here, Lisa finished accounting school, got her CPA, and quit her secretary position. She was now working at a highly respected accounting firm. Well, so far so good in that department. That sounds good. But listen to see what happens next now that she's got herself a sure thing. We talked about having kids, and Lisa said that she wanted to be a stay-at-home mom in order to devote all her time to raising our kids. Yeah, so pretty much her husband can work and bring home the bacon. And that's nice. If she was genuinely meant this, that would have been nice, taking care of the kids, because too many kids nowadays don't have parents around, and we kind of have what we have today. But this also gives someone, as you're going to see, an opportunity to say, okay, I'll quit my job, raise the kids, and my husband's making all the money, and if things don't work out, now because I don't have a job, and I haven't had a job for a while, and been taking care of the kids, now if things don't work out, I can end the marriage and get a nice fat monthly alimony check along with child support. And meanwhile, hook up with the dude I really want. It was something I wanted to be able to give to her, but the low rent roll for my investments and my job as a tech would not be enough to support a family in New York City. Thus, when I decided to quit my job and go back to school to pursue a more lucrative career. So, you didn't state whether you really liked your job as a technician or not. It seemed like it was okay for you at the time. So you quit that job so you can go back to school, accumulate debt to get a better job. And don't get me wrong, I'm all for people making a smart investment in school only if that investment in school will bring you a good return on a better career. I'm okay with that. But I'm not okay you doing it just for some chick. Okay, to make her so she can stay home and raise the kids. That I'm not okay with. If it was something you want to do for yourself, I'm okay with that. And I'm addressing the guy who wrote this, and I'm addressing anybody else out there. But don't just do it to make somebody else happy, because you may be in for a very rude awakening. What could happen? He says, the career that would allow her to be stay-at-home mom and not worry about the financials. I decided to go to pharmacy school, and the plan was to get my bachelor's and open a pharmacy. She was willing to support me while I pursued that path. Oh, okay, so she was working at the accounting firm while you were doing this. Okay, I'll admit I did overlook that part. Okay, but regardless, there's no guarantee. You had a success early on with the carpet cleaning business, which is awesome. But there's no guarantee that you're going to be able to open a pharmacy. Roll the dice. He says, school was quite hard, and I found myself spending a long time with my head in the books. Well, that's kind of how it goes. Lisa started traveling for work and would be away for a week or two at a time. Uh-oh. You're studying all the time. I'm sure she probably didn't like getting all the attention that she was used to. Remember, this is the girl that was an ugly duckling growing up. Then she blossomed, so to speak, and now she's getting attention from dudes all the time. And now you, her main dude, your head's in the books all the time, so you can't pay as much attention to her. So gals like that are going to get it elsewhere. He says, one day after coming back from a business trip, Lisa seemed very distant. I had no idea what was wrong, but my antenna was up. Good, you were sensing red flags. While she was asleep, I went through her handbag and found a handwritten letter from a guy. This is obviously before cell phones or smartphones and being able to read emails and texts and all that. She met some guy at a club while on a business trip to Texas. The guy was aware that she and I were engaged, and in the letter he was asking her to leave me for him. He also shared information about their intimate times together and how he can't wait to have her in his arms again. There you go, Mr. I'm going to quit my job and go back to school, rack up debt, and do all this stuff so I can be the white knight hero for my lady. And remember, this is the guy that knew her they dated for like 1 year, getting engaged. You see what I'm talking about, guys? That's too bad. That sucks. This has never happened to me, and it hit me like a ton of bricks. I can imagine, man. I was so sure this woman was the one for me. There is no the one. That whole the one thing is a bunch of horse crap. Okay, that's sold in movies and shows and books and all that. That's the crap that women buy into, but unfortunately, lots of guys do too. You got a whole world of people here, plenty of opportunities. It's just the stars are aligned and destiny brought together two people and blah, blah, blah. That bullshit. I was so sure that I'd spend the rest of my life with her. I was willing to do anything to support her and make her happy. That's your problem. And I'm willing to bet you this dude that she's hooking up with probably is the exact opposite. This is the problem, guys, when this is more movie crap about sacrificing everything for your one true love and being that hero. How does that work out for guys in real life? It works out fine in the movies and shows, but in real life, especially nowadays, that kindness and love is perceived as weakness. It's really unfortunate, but it happens. I was willing to do anything to support her and make her happy. My mind was racing. I had no idea how to handle it. The following day, I decided to confront her. She did not deny the affair and said that she is not sure if she loves him or not. Well, you better get sure real quick, sweetheart. I will say this, I'm impressed that she didn't deny the affair. Usually, a situation like this, she would start yelling at the guy for going through her purse. Or saying, it's not what it looks like. At that moment, when you saw that letter, man, you should have been out of there. Gone. Or thrown her ass out of there. Once a cheater, always a cheater, bro. It's not going to change. I asked her to stop talking to him and break it off. No, you should have walked away, my friend. She said she wants time to think about it. I don't think so. I'd say, okay, I'll give you time to think about it. You got 5 seconds. And when I count to 5, you make up your mind or I'm out of here. 1, 2, 3. Okay, I'll stay. But no, you should have been out of there. Now, I know what you must be thinking, and this was definitely the lowest point in my life. See, he knew how I'd respond to this, and I get it, bro. You were devastated. You really were trying your best. Believe me, I may come across like I'm being an asshole here, but I don't mean to be. It's not personal. I'm trying to help you out. And I know you know this, but this is to help other guys out. You were at a low point. You didn't know. You were inexperienced. You didn't have somebody to guide you through all this stuff. I told her that she can take some time to think about it, but it would end the engagement. I would end the engagement myself at any time if I choose. No, you don't give them time to decide. Not at all. They get 5 seconds. And even then, that wouldn't matter because it should have been over. You know? Right there, you had the proof that she was hooked up with some other dude. This is supposed to be your wife? You think that she won't do that again? You think that she won't see you forgiving her or giving another chance? That kindness for weakness? Even if she doesn't realize it on the outside, in the inside somewhere, that's going to be stored away as, oh, this guy's weak. He forgave me once. I can pull this shit again if I cry enough and put on the waterworks and put on a big scene. See? The following month was horrible. I couldn't sleep, concentrate, or study. I failed every exam during that month. Luckily, my average was high enough that I did not fail my classes. It started affecting my health, and I realized I had to end things. Good, bro. Look what this is doing to you. To your school, this is your purpose. So you can obviously get that pharmacy job and open a pharmacy like you were hoping, which, by the way, was meant for her so she wouldn't have to work. It started affecting my health, and I realized I had to end things. I sat Lisa down and told her that I couldn't wait for her to make up her mind and decide to end the engagement. Good. Good for you. Because, guys, generally women are indecisive, and they generally can't make up their minds. I'm sure many of you guys notice this. And I'm not just talking about they can't make up their mind when you're out on a date and they can't decide what they want to eat and it takes them 45 minutes to choose from the menu. I'm talking about a lot of things. And usually the more feminine they are, the more they can't make up their minds. While guys, on the other hand, are naturally much more direct and make decisions and make up their minds real quick. And if you don't act that way, guys, start acting that way. That's why when guys are like that, when guys are act like flakes and are indecisive, can't make up their minds, it drives women crazy because they're like that. They want you to be the leader. Little tip there. Don't give her a chance to make up her mind because she's never going to do it. So we ended the engagement. Her reaction was not what I expected. She seemed relieved that she did not have to make this decision. Yeah, of course, because now she can say, well, he broke it off. It's not my fault. He broke it off. That same day, we packed up all her clothes and she moved out of my place and went to live with her brother. What do you mean we were packing up her stuff? She should pack that stuff up. This is where it gets interesting. 2 days later, Lisa showed up at my door crying hysterically, telling me what a terrible mistake she made. They always come back, guys. Always. How many stories have I done? How many stories have I done? They always come crying back. And usually it's because they are in trouble for money, or the guy they really want to dump them, something like that. As it turns out, right after I kicked her out of the house, she drove to upstate New York to surprise her lover, who was working there as a camp counselor. So she wasted no time to go see her lover. Can you take a wild guess what her Chatter Tyrone lover is doing when she goes up to surprise him? Once she got to camp, she went to the main office to ask what cabin he was staying in. The woman in the office told her that she seems like a nice girl and that they don't know what she's doing with a guy like him. Confused, she went to his cabin to find him in bed with another girl. He yelled at her to get out, and she ran to her car. Ha! Talk about karma. These morons always think that the bad boy, the Chad and Tyrone, are going to be true and blue, the exciting guy. We know this type. And will be the great boyfriend and stop his ways for her. And then they find out that he is going to cheat on them too. And now she's back 2 days later crying hysterically when she realized that the guy she really wanted is done with her. But our man here is all the wiser now. As much as she begged and pleaded to take me back, I refused. Good for you. I told her our engagement was dead in the water and there was nothing I want from her anymore. In the following few months, she kept on making excuses to visit me. It was always some jewelry or some other items she forgot to take. Each and every time she would beg me to reconsider, and I always said no. Now, I gotta say this, man. I'm sure it was satisfying to have her come back constantly begging and pleading, especially after what she did to you, and especially after what you were the sacrifices you were making for her and all that. But you should have told her, don't ever come back here again. End of story. Because it's not going to be easy for you to get over her if she kept showing up every couple of weeks. Oh, and by the way, a little tip, guys, for you relationship guys. They leave stuff at your house on purpose. They leave it as a way as marking their territory, if you will. And also that if you ever break up, she has an excuse to always come back to see you because, I left that hairbrush behind, or I left that pair of earrings behind, or that blouse, or whatever the hell they leave behind. Be aware of that if you start noticing your girlfriend leaving a bunch of crap at your apartment or house. Just a little tip there. Right here. Perfect example. One day, when she came over, she was trying hard to convince me to sleep with her. This was new. Previously, it was just her trying to convince me to give us another chance. Now, let's be smart here. Why was she suddenly trying to convince you to sleep with her? I'm sure some of you guys can figure it out. If you can figure it out, give yourselves a pat on the back because you're going to be right. Previously, it was just her trying to convince me to give us another chance. Again, my suspicion was triggered. I declined her advances. The next time she came over was the last. She said she had something important to tell me. She was very soft-spoken, and with her head down, she told me that she was, wait for it, pregnant. I had no doubt that she was trying to stick me with the pregnancy. She told me that she plans on keeping the baby and that her camp counselor boyfriend was the father. So, please sleep with me, so therefore then I can say, oh, it's your baby. And she would think that you would never dare ask for a paternity test. And she knew that you'd be a sure thing. Notice that she was more than happy to get out of there and leave you when you broke up with her, when you ended the engagement. But the second Chad and Tyrone, whatever you want to call them, was done with her, back on her knees. She said that the father, he wants nothing to do with her or the baby, and said he will pray every night that the baby dies. Jesus. She called his mother, and his mother called her SLUT and said that she could not believe her son was the father. Lisa went on to have a healthy baby girl. She raised the girl on her own with the help of her family. I decided to stay in school to pursue a doctorate degree and obtain a clinical position at a local hospital. Cool, bro. And at least this was in the 90s when school was cheaper. He said, a funny thing happened when I finished school. The area where my investments were located had become gentrified. Rental income multiplied sixfold, and I no longer need to work. Now I'm having the time of my life. Well, I told her that NYC real estate would pay off eventually. Oh, one more note. I ran into her brother at Home Depot years later. I walked up to him, and he seemed cold and distant. He said that he and his family really liked me, and they didn't know why I just left Lisa. She never told him. Confused, he didn't know. I told him why. As it turns out, Lisa never told the family why I broke off the engagement out of shame. So she just let them think that he's the bad guy. Her family simply believed that I decided to end things because she was pregnant and chose to keep the baby. So she left you. She was the bad guy. She was cheating on you with that guy. And she let them, who obviously liked you, go on thinking that you were a jerk all those years. Well, guys, it's always nice to hear a story where a guy is wronged and he finally makes the right decision, and then karma comes back to strike those, whoever it is, wrongs him. It's always a good thing to hear. So I'm guessing Miss I want to stay home and be a stay-at-home mom, I would say to keep working at her accounting job. Now, if she was as pretty as he said she was, I'm kind of surprised she didn't rope some other guy in real quick. But then again, she's pregnant. But I'm sure it didn't take her long after having the kid to find some poor white knight sucker to help take care of things, if she still kept her looks. But anyhow, guys, good story to go over. To the guy who sent this, I appreciate you sending this. I know I was making fun of you a little bit, but things had to be said. I'm sure you don't take it personally. Your story is going to help somebody out there, guaranteed, either going through this shit right now, or maybe they watch this video and one day they experience something similar. Things will click and they'll remember this, and then they'll make a better decision. So thank you for that. But all right, guys, that is it for today. Be sure to comment down below. Let me know what you think about this. And guys, if you guys have a great story you'd like to share with me, by all means, email it to me, strongsuccessfulmale@gmail.com. Make sure it's well written. I don't care if it's long, just make sure it's well written. Paragraphs, good punctuation. You wouldn't believe the amount of stories I get that probably are good, and they're written so poorly, I just have to delete them. I don't have time. But if it's good, I'll definitely cover it down the road. I think this story is like 2 months old. But I'll get to them eventually. And this also goes for any really good articles or stories you might find online. Send them to me too, and I'll give you a shout out. And be sure to like the video, share with your friends, and subscribe. And I'll catch you next time.